Welcome to Economic Forum, where today we are discussing advertising and market research. And I have the pleasure of welcoming Pamela Gwanzula, who is the Chief Executive Officer of the Zimbabwe Advertising and Research Foundation, whose acronym is ZAF. Pamela, welcome.
Thank you so much, John.
Yes.
Happy to be on the program.
Oh, thank you very much. So, what is ZAF all about, and how is it constituted?
The Zimbabwe Advertising Research Foundation is really a foundation that was set up over 23 years ago, and it was set up with the key mandate to service three key stakeholders, which incorporate the advertising agencies, the media owners, as well as the marketers stroke advertisers. So within ZAF, we actually have all those three organizations incorporated in there. The ZAPA, which is the body for all the advertising agencies in Zimbabwe, Marketers Association of Zimbabwe, which houses all marketers in Zimbabwe, represented by the various corporates across the industry. And then we've also got ADMA, which represents all the media owners within Zimbabwe.
I know ZAF is well known for ZAMS, which is the Zimbabwe All Media and Product Survey, which comes out quarterly and so forth. But we'll go deeper into that later on. What else do you do as ZAF?
So as ZAF, we are there also as an advisory body to the market in terms of giving direction to various stakeholders in terms of where they should be investing or where they should be concentrating their efforts on in terms of advertising or in terms of marketing. Basically because we provide them with the necessary tools to see what the market is looking like. I mean, when we talk about why we exist as ZAF, we are there to give the market very tangible insights that then help them in various levels of decision making.
How do you do that? Do you go into the different firms and see how they operate and see how they identify their markets in order to be effective?
We actually work on a win-win situation, which is we go to them when our report is done, when our survey is done, we report to the market. But also besides reporting to the market and equipping them with all the insights that they need, we then also engage them in terms of getting them to come back to us and say to us, what is it that they still need beyond what we've provided them with?
What is evident is that everything hinges on ZAMS, this Zimbabwe All Media and Product Survey. And without much ado, let's go into it. ZAMS, tell us about how you go about doing this survey for the market.
ZAMS, the acronym ZAMS, actually stands for the Zimbabwe All Media Products Survey, okay? And what it means is that within that survey that we do, we cover media, and when we say media, we are talking about what is everybody out there watching, what is everybody out there listening to, what is everybody out there reading in terms of newspapers. So on the media front, we are providing that kind of information.
While we're there, while we're on the media,
yes.
I think traditionally, for a very long time, we were mainly in that segment talking about radio and television and the print media. But media has broadened. Would you like to share with us as to how broad you are now when you describe media? It's more than radio and television.
Definitely. What we've seen is over the years, particularly in the last 2 years, there's been a very sharp growth within the social media side as well. And this is something that we have sought to capture even in our research as we've been going about it. Social media has become part of the media that we actually go out there to assess and see how is it doing, how is the market consuming it, what is the market uptake in terms of the various social media platforms. So definitely we are incorporating that, and we are endeavoring to continue to move with the times as we see the various trends moving in terms of the various media that is available. Not only is it social media that we're talking about, we've also noticed a very sharp trend when it comes to online TVs and online, various online platforms that are continuing to provide our audiences with various information.
Having looked through the ZAMPS report, there are other things that you report about. Can you also tell us more about that? What is it that is also important for the market, especially when they are making decisions about their business strategies, that is also pertinent about lifestyles and other issues?
When we talk about products, John, we are not just talking about the physical products. We are also talking about the intangible products, which is basically your services. So ZAMPS incorporates product penetration within the market. We look at what products are being consumed within the market, in terms of foodstuffs, in terms of various. It could be beverages, it could be products that people consume in various means. We also look at the services. What services are being consumed within the market, and that incorporates even banking. What products are being consumed there. It incorporates even insurance. What products are being consumed there. So we look at all those various sectors to see what products are the most consumed, how are they being consumed, and what is the level of preferences in terms of the market preferring this or preferring that. Then we equip the market with that.
Do you think that the industry leaders, the managers, those decision makers do make use of all these products that you give them in the form of the ZAMPS results?
Definitely. We've actually got a scenario where several stakeholders will actually not move on their media strategy or on their business strategy without referring to our research, simply because it equips them with investment direction in terms of, after looking at the market structure, they can see where are they positioned within the market, and therefore where should they be investing more. They can also see a mirror of where they are in terms of the size of the market that is taking up their products or services, and that helps them decide on how much they should invest in specific areas and see where the gaps are in terms of opportunities.
In that respect, do you think all the media leaders are actually literate in order for them to really understand what this report is giving them, very briefly?
Yes, definitely. Most of the key corporates, in terms of the market leaders, they are very, very conversant with what this particular report delivers to them, and they've made an effort to actually reach out to us. We also reach out to them to ensure that we provide clarity where they may not be clear.
We'll take a short break, and when we come back, we are going to be discussing how the stakeholders in the market have responded to the ZAMPS surveys. Welcome to the second segment of Economic Forum, where today we are discussing advertising and market research. In the last segment, Pamela, we were discussing ZAMPS and how you go about it, how you commission actually different advertising agencies to actually carry out the work. How do you do that?
In terms of commissioning, what we do is we actually send out a request for proposals in terms of quotations. And then what we do also is that we have an existing technical committee that is solely there to ensure that they actually judge whoever is bringing in the quotations, and they then judge based on experience, knowledge, and familiarity with this particular research. We then make a selection in terms of who is capable of actually carrying out this research.
Maybe it is important to understand who constitutes this technical committee, so that when the results come out, the issues of bias and inexperience, as well as lack of focus, don't come up.
Within the technical committee, we have representatives of the marketing researchers of Zimbabwe, which is other researchers, several researchers, the research experts. Then also within that committee, we also have very long-serving market gurus, people that have been within the marketing industry for over 20 years, and therefore they've had an opportunity to interact with various researchers. They are the ones that also serve the purpose of interrogating certain nitty-gritties about the commissioning of the research, and even the process when that research is being rolled out, and even when the results come out. This technical committee is the one that first sees it before it's actually released to the market. Still within that, we also have representatives from advertising agencies, associations, so that they are in there representing all the advertising agencies, and they look out again for the relevance to their own sector and the relevance to the whole economy as a whole. And then lastly, we have the media owners, which is basically your various different medias. We have them being represented in there as well, so that they too are looking out for several aspects that relate to the media.
So with such a composition, why then, Pamela, do we hear at times after the publication of ZAMS a lot of complaints from the media and some of your stakeholders that your report is biased, that it is not representative of what's actually taking place in the media? For instance, a radio station will say that we receive so many phone calls, we're very popular, but ZAMS is placing us in number last and so forth, while others will brag and even come up with slogans, and so forth. Tell us how that comes about.
John, you've got to realize that we are not skewed towards a specific media house. We are not skewed towards a specific stakeholder. We are an independent body, and as such, we are there to provide a very unbiased view. We basically go out into the market, ask the market what the market is saying, then we report on what the market is saying. When we report to the various stakeholders on what the market is saying, the stakeholders, particularly the media, like you mentioned, because they have their various platforms, which is your radio or your TV, they use their platforms to sell themselves based on the information that they get. We don't have control over that. We simply are an independent body. We go to the market, get the insights, bring the insights to the market, and we present those. So in terms of why then do we have complaints, let me tell you, John, any research that does not have any critique is not proper research. So I just want to put it out there that every research will have people that will say, yay, and people that will say, oh, but how come? And those that will, feel aggrieved because perhaps the research is indicating that they have not done so well, they will actively go out there to try and trash, certain aspects of the research. But again, we've got to accept it as part of, the process.
But all the same, you'd like to keep your stakeholders together, and you like to keep this unity within the research that you do, which is beneficial to industry, and as well as commerce. How then do you counsel them in order to come back? Obviously, you don't want to lose many friends.
We are never arrogant about our response to any feedback that we get. We actually actively go out there and engage any aggrieved people. What we do is we sit down with them, go through the process with them. In a lot of instances, we actually dig deep into the data, the full report that we have in terms of even the detailed data to show them how we would have gone about that research. And in instances where it's necessary, we can even show them certain elements about, certain provinces, if it's a specific province that they're complaining about. But in a nutshell, we do our best to ensure that, we clarify to anybody who's aggrieved so that they are in a better understanding. We give them an explanation and we prove to them what we did and what the data is saying. And then usually with all stakeholders that are aggrieved that we engage, there's always that element of, oh, okay, I didn't realize that you actually went the extra mile and would do this. So there's better understanding after stakeholder engagement.
So in that regard, have you had some comebacks people who would have otherwise abandoned you because of they think that you are biased. But after these explanations, they then come back in order to benefit from ZAMPs.
Definitely. We've had many comebacks, and usually because there's a deeper understanding after that engagement, those comebacks actually come very strong, because you then find that such stakeholders usually go the extra mile and say, I realize that you guys may be in need of more funding or in need of several other things. How can we help to support this work to go forward?
We've come to the end of the second segment, and when we come back in the third and final segment, Pamela is going to be telling us about how the internet has affected advertising and research, as well as the media landscape, and also about whether the ZAMPs report is useful even beyond our borders. So join us then. Welcome to the third and final segment of Economic Forum, where today we are discussing advertising and market research with my guest here, Pamela Gwanzura, who is the Chief Executive Officer of the Zimbabwe Advertising Research Foundation, whose acronym is ZAF, who are well known for ZAMPs, the Zimbabwe All Media and Product Survey, which she has elaborated on quite extensively in the previous segment. But right now, Pamela, let's look at the internet. The internet has changed the whole media landscape. Where in the past we would boast that we are radio people and so forth, that radio is all over the show, it's on the internet, and people are accessing it in different ways. Where do you come in as advertising researchers in order to capture your market?
Okay, so indeed, I do agree with you, John. The internet has been very phenomenal in terms of just changing the media landscape as we knew it. I know that in the past, people were very used to the physical brick and mortar kind of stuff, where they would buy the newspaper physically and then consume it and then, feel like they've read the newspaper. But as you know, right now the newspaper is there on the internet, the radio is there on the internet. So how we come in is that when we are actually conducting our survey, we actually ask people, have you listened to the radio in the last 24 hours or in the last week? And people actually respond based on wherever they've listened the radio from. It could be from their phone, it could be from the website, it could be from the physical radio station, radio set within their house, or it could be within their car. And so we ask them that question, and basically we have this very interesting feedback from them, just that they've listened and from various sources that they would have used. Again, when we look at newspapers and magazines, you will find that we get responses, from people to say, yes, I read the paper, but a lot of them are then quick to say where they read the paper. And we have found that the trend in the last 2 years has actually been a migration towards more reading the newspaper on the internet as opposed to actually going out and buying it. A lot of people are now consuming it in a soft kind of setting. Then I want to also just touch on the bit where you said, how do we come in? We have also...
still on that, Pamela, if it's going to be available on the internet and people are going to be sharing it like that, how then does business benefit? Because everything is free. People, one person will either download it or get it from a friend, and then it's circulated on WhatsApp groups, and you're able to read that paper without actually, buying it and so forth. So advertising as well as revenue generation there, if you could explain how that comes about.
Yeah. Well, I will touch on just the vastness in terms of the reach. Definitely on the reach element, because of the advent of the internet, the reach is broader, the scope is broader, and therefore the audience is much bigger than it was before the internet, kicked in so highly. Now, in terms of the revenue, again, I'm not privy to fully comment on that, because you would need a media owner who can actually then comment on that. But just from my own knowledge, when you look at any media, when you look at any advertiser, when they place their advert, they are basically trying to buy an audience, if you like. So if I'm telling you right now, John, that the internet has broadened the audience, the advertiser should be happier because their advert is going to be seen on a broader scale. Okay. Now, in terms of advertising revenue, what it has called for is more innovation in terms of how placements are made, and also creativity in terms of costing the adverts. It has called for media owners to have good rationale when they are selling to that advertiser, why that advert should cost so much when it's coming out online or when it's coming out in the physical newspaper. And I know for a lot of the media owners, there's actually a dual system where for the physical copy there's a different price, for the online copy there's a different price, again because of that advent of the various approaches that are being taken. One takes less time to do, one takes printing and a whole rigorous process in terms of distribution, and therefore that would warrant more in terms of advertising cost.
But it took quite some time for some old guards to actually understand and move over, to the new normal as far as revenue generation and the advent of the internet is concerned.
Yeah, that's very,
so
very
would
true.
we say Zaf and colleagues, you were able to then increase that literacy and make sure that the modern manager does understand the advantages that are associated with advertising on the internet?
Definitely, because our whole purpose for our research is to interpret what the market is saying and what the market is doing and what the market is looking like. Indeed, as we were going out to do our research, there were several elements that we picked up that were different from how they were, in previous years. And definitely from that, we had to adapt and also communicate to the market to say, hey, it's no longer this, it's now this, and therefore the market should adapt to that new normal, if you like. We ourselves have actually adopted to the new normal because we've moved from the survey where we used to do face-to-face, and now because of the pandemic and even the advent of technology, we now do online surveys, which are telephonic and even more efficient than before.
Very briefly, advertising is not only restricted to commerce and industry, even government and political parties are also involved. Do you also involve them in this kind of exercise to understand how things have changed and so forth?
What we've done is we've actually begun a process of incorporating as many other stakeholders as possible, including government. When I talk about government, I'm talking about like the Ministry of Health, just to understand what is the vaccination, vibe out there in terms of how people are receiving that. We've also, thought about the Ministry, of Tourism, the ZTA side, to see what is the level of, perception that is going on out there
Pamela,
about Zimbabwe.
I'm afraid I'm going to stop you there. I know that will be for another day, actually. I know you have a lot to say about advertising and market research in Zimbabwe, but I would like to thank you very much for coming on to Economic Forum today. Thank you. That was Pamela Gwanzura, who is the Chief Executive Officer of the Zimbabwe Advertising Foundation, which is known as ZAF and popularly known for one of its products, which is ZAMS. Until next time, this is John Masuku.